Hey everyone, this is Lucid. I'm going to be doing a Let's Play for the nation Lemuria. It's a multiplayer game which I've already started. And in this episode I'm going to go through the national overview, what troops you have, how to use them, and then we're going to talk about pretender design. And after that we will get into the actual multiplayer Let's Play. For this Let's Play I have my gem generator on, which is the temporary gem generator. Which I updated for Dominions 5. So here we go. I'm going to pull up a test game where I have all the units so you can see them. Lemuria is the successor to Ermor, and whereas Ermor is generally considered very overpowered, Lemuria is much less so. They're definitely weaker than Ermor, but they also play very differently. Whereas Ermor is an instrument of a blunt instrument of war, where you can pound your forces into the enemy forces and expect to come out ahead. Lemuria often will never win in a straight up fight. You're a nation of ghosts, so everybody has invulnerability in terms of your troops, but you don't have any protection, and you're undead, so you suffer from banishment. And your weapons, importantly, are magic weapons. So, to successfully hit somebody, you have to hit them with the, do the attack versus defense. Then you do a magic roll. That magic roll is going to you're going to check against MR resistance. I forget exactly what the check is, but if you pass the MR resistance check, then your weapon will do damage, full damage, 13. But then it has to go through enemy protection. If you fail the magic resistance check, then you take half of your damage, and that does a check against enemy protection. So, yeah, these guys can get kind of wrecked by elite troops, because they can't damage them. Especially elite troops with magic resistance. And they themselves will die in droves to anything with magic weapons, because that will negate ethereal. And they have no protection as kind of a backup. They are very good against archer fire. They have a shield, even though they don't have armor. So they can parry arrows in addition to being ethereal. So yeah, they're good against that. But basically, anything with mage or priest support, these guys are going to die in literal droves. So you can't really win a straight up fight. And that's kind of the whole thing about this nation, is it's very, very, very hard to win straight up fights. But nevertheless, you get tons of free spawn. You get free spawn in a very similar way to how you get it with Ermor. You get really bad free spawn in you get these dispossessed spirits in provinces that have your dominion in it, but do not have a fort. And you get better free spawn in forts, especially forts with temples in it. You will also get free spawn commanders, as you do with Lemuria. In this case, you get a free spawn priest, which is different. They can reanimate dead and lead your troops around. And you can also, if you have a temple and a library or a lab in a province, you can get a lemur acolyte. Now, I've tested it. I'm not 100% sure you can't get these without a temple in the province, but I'm pretty sure you do. So I think you need a lab and a temple, and you may need a fort. I haven't tested the combo without the fort, but you're going to want to be forting your temples anyway, because people will try to kill you and kill your temples. So, and it goes without saying, this is also a population kill nation. So you can see my capital, Lemuria, only has 4,000 people in it, and it's because your population dies very, very quickly. So playing them, you're kind of a cancer on the world. Nobody really wants to have you as a neighbor. Nobody particularly wants to invade you, because another important feature of Lemuria is your troops are not mindless, so they actually are pretty good at holding up fort walls. So you have provinces which essentially give no income, which are very difficult to siege, which are going to be covered in forts, so nobody wants to invade you. But if they did, they probably would be able to, because you have a very hard time holding up in a straight-up fight, especially until you get some key research online. There were some significant changes made from Dominions 4 to Dominions 5. We're going to go through what all the troops are in a second, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about the nation generally. I believe you used to get 15 death gems per month or something like that. It went down to 9, and then plus you get some from temples. And it's the same mechanic as with Ermor. You get, well, in this test game I only have 1 Dominion Strength, but you get 1 death gem per temple. So you see death gems per month 1. That's because I have 1 temple. Up to a max of whatever your Dominion Strength is. So let's pretend my Dominion Strength was 8. If I built 8 temples, I would get 8 death gems. If I had 7 temples, I would get 7 death gems, even though my Dominion Strength was 8. If I built 9 temples and my Dominion Strength was 8, I would only get 8 death gems, because 8 Dominion Strength. Okay, so what this means is early game, you are going to get far fewer, or significantly fewer death gems. But not that many, because you start off with a temple. So your actual income at the beginning is 10 versus 15, so it's about 33% less, which is significant. That's not nothing. You also start off with a mage. This is the mage you start off with in your starting army. But by the end of the game, because you can have up to 10 extra death gems from this temple mechanic, you're going to have 20 death gems just from temples without any site searching. Just from temples in your, or 19, from temples in your capital site. Which is pretty big. That's more than you would have in Dominions 4. So I would consider this a buff, even though it's a bit tricky in terms of the balance, because it hurts you early game when you're weak anyway. You have some national spells. They're all in Conjuration. You have Shadow Tribune, Lemur Centurion, Lemur Senator, a Lemur Senator, a Lemur Acolyte, a Lemur Consul, a Lemur Thaumaturg, and a Grand Lemur. And I'm going to show you all those right now. So basically you have priests, and you have 1 general, you have mages and priests. So, but your mages are also priests. So this is your general. This is the Lemur Centurion. These guys are awesome. They are 3 death gems, so they're the price of a Mound King. Let me double check that. Oh, they're 5 death gems, so they're the price of a Bane. But they are so much better. They have 19 protection, so that's quite high. They have fear, which is very important. They have ethereal, and then they have pretty good base stats, 14 attack and 14 defense and 25 HP. They can't quite solo expand, but 2 of them can solo expand against easy stuff, and one of them, they're very durable behind a troop line. So you can have them kind of run. Actually, they're durable at the front of a troop line as long as they don't get surrounded. So, and their fear will cause indies to rout when you are expanding against them. So, yeah, these are your commanders. They're really good for early expansion. You're going to be relying on them a lot the first year. And depending on who you're facing and what they're doing, you might even be able to use them as thugs, but kind of not really, because people are going to come out with counters to your ghosts, and counters to your ghosts, like Banishment and Astral Magic and stuff, will kill these guys pretty efficiently. Magic resistance is okay, it's 15. Okay, now priests. This is your starting priest. This is your mid-level priest. It's a Lemur Thaumaturg. And it's Astral 1, Death 2, Holy 2. The Holy 2 allows it to reanimate Dispossess. Actually, let's go in order here. If you're Holy 1, you can do Dispossess Spirits and Call Shadows. Right, so this is looking at my Mage Priest. If you're Holy 2, you can do Dispossess Spirits and Shadows. Both of these have Paralyze attacks. And then you also get access to Shade Beasts and Apparitions. Shade Beasts will reanimate whoever they kill as a Soulless. I can't remember. You might actually be able to keep those at the end of combat. I can't remember. I don't think so, actually. I'm not sure. And then Call Apparition. These guys are... Both of these are... Everybody here is ethereal. But the Call Apparition has a disease aura and will inflict disease on striking, so it's pretty good against... And this one has fear, too. So this is good kind of at the back of your lines. They are more fragile than your normal troops. They don't have a shield or anything. And I don't think their stat line's quite as good. But they do cause fear, and they're basically free spawn fear units, so that's really good. And they're good against super combatants and thugs because they can make them diseased. So it is a counter to people who want to rush you with their super combatant, because nobody wants a diseased super combatant. It's like one of the worst afflictions you can get early game if you don't have a way to counter it. Okay, so we had our Holy One Priest. Our Holy One Mage Priest. These guys are reanimators. They also have this attribute magic power, so they're more powerful in high magic provinces. So they get plus... it's kind of weird it's not showing up here. I am in a magic province. Oh, it's not magic here for some reason. It's like my Dominion is going to die. Oh no, it's not. Why is it not magic? Oh, I didn't build a Pretender. If I had magic in my Pretender design, which you will probably want, you'll get +1 to attack and defense and strength in friendly Dominion, which makes your defense score actually pretty high. It also is effective on your Centurions, who are going to be kind of more thuggy for you, and also basically for all your commanders. So, since you guys can double as thugs or SCs, you can... they're definitely significantly stronger in Magic Dominion than they are in than Drain Scales. Okay. They also are magically attuned researchers, so they're going to get 1 extra point when researching in Magic Scales, and they're going to hurt when you're researching in Drain. And because you're going to be relying on these for your research, you're probably going to want to definitely take Magic, which is going to prevent you from kind of sacking your scales more and going into like a stronger Bless or stronger Commander. But it is nice because these guys are now stronger researchers. If you look at how much they cost here we the Acolyte. They cost 11 Death Gems, which, if we go down and look, what you would used to do in Dominions 4 is you would rush Enchantment 3, and you would get Create Revenant, and you would get these guys for 9 Death Gems, who are kind of all around a little worse. And it would take you on a detour on Alteration. On Enchantment, you don't always really want to go on. So this is actually nice. It allows you to go something first other than Enchantment. It allows you to get your mages out researching earlier, which gives you kind of a faster research curve at the beginning. And then these guys are a bit more useful in combat. Yeah, just because they're a much stronger chassis. They're 20 HP, Fear, Chill Aura, Ethereal, all of that good stuff, and then magically attuned. So, Death 1 is not a very useful path, though. So that's still a problem. You like put an item on them really to use them. Death 2 is really when they start coming online as being useful. But anyway, they are a stronger chassis and provide essentially equivalent research to a Revenant. Now, if you did want to go Drain, you would want to rush Enchantment to get to the Revenants. Because I think with Drain Scales, these guys are going to be better. But in Magic Scales, these guys are definitely better. So, okay, that's our level 1 and level 2 mage, and here's our level 3. These guys are pretty awesome. These are your Grand Lemurs. These cost a whopping 50 Death Gems to get. But unlike these two chassis, this chassis is immortal. And that is quite important. Because what it means is, with the new mortality mechanic, these guys, if they die, they will resurrect wherever you summoned them in 3 months. Now, if you lose control of the province where you summoned them, then you're in a bit of a pickle. But yeah, this is really strong. So, you get a few varieties. They come with Death 3, Astral 2. You can get a water variety where you get Water 1. You can get an air variety like this one where you get Air 1. You can get an Astral variety where you're Astral 3, Death 3. And you get a Death variety where you're Astral 2, Death 4. What's particularly noteworthy is because they're an Astral Mage, they can do Power of the Spheres, which will get them up to 2 in their second path, which will be enough for them then to cast, like if it's water or air. Now you'd have to have Storm up for air, but you could do Power of the Storms, and for water you could do Water Power if you're underwater and get up to Water 3. But there are a lot of useful Death Air and Death Water paths, which you'll want to be casting Power of the Spheres before, so that you have access to it. And what's really important is these are very expensive, but they're immortal. So you don't have to worry about the normal things you have to worry about with really expensive astral mages, because this guy would get magic dueled in a good multiplayer game. Versus the AI, it doesn't matter, but in a multiplayer game, you're going to see a ton of magic duel against these guys because they're 50 death gems, and for like a cheap astral 2 mage, you'll have a good chance of sniping one of them. So anyway, they're far more flexible than the mages that Ermor gets because you can actually use them in combat. Yeah. They're also better super combatants because they're very good naked. Or with like a gem, you give them 1 gem to do astral power, then you can have them do mist form, invulnerability, soul vortex, astral shield, and they'll be really, really good. They don't need items, but I don't think you really want to use these as super combatants, though that's certainly a way. We'll talk about some of the blessed builds for this. Now we're going to go into the priests. So the priests, you have a Holy One. These guys are free spawns, the Shadow Tribunes. They don't have many hit points, and their stat line is okay, but not great. They are ethereal. They do have dark power, which is nice, so if you're getting darkness up, they actually kind of could be thuggy, or if you have them in a cave province. Basically, you'll use these guys to reanimate spirits and to lead your troops around, because you'll be getting them for free. Whoops. These guys are... these guys do not have magic power. They would be more thuggy if they had magic power. These guys do have magic power, but they don't have the dark power. With Holy 2, there's a couple spells that get opened up. We'll talk about the spells. Actually, we'll do that when we get to the Holy 3, but there's a couple spells that get opened up with this that are okay. And then finally, you get your Holy 3. Your Holy 3 dudes are the only ones who are immortal. So your Lemur Consul is immortal, and your Holy 3 mages are immortal. And this guy is pretty awesome. He's got 16 attack and defense, so very good stats, 33 HP, good base protection like your Centurion, high magic resistance, higher than your Centurion. And then he's immortal, and then has fear, ethereal, etc. So he's pretty strong. And now with the new immortal mechanic, you don't have to worry about losing these guys outside your dominion, so you can use them aggressively instead of just defensively. We'll talk about the spells you get for your nation real quick. So you get Unholy Command, which is a very short range enslave on undead. Not really useful, though probably more useful now because it used to be really hard to get in range. Now you can do advance and cast spells, which would allow you to kind of get in range of that kind of stuff. And then you basically have the same type of stuff that a lot of the undead nations have. You have Unholy Protection, which gives you 4 magic resistance. You have 3 levels of it. Level 1, you have level 2. Level 2 is area of effect 10, range 10. But no, it always is successful. Level 3 is the entire battlefield, but it's MR easily negate, so you have to cast it many times to get it on all your troops. So if you have a small group, it's actually better to use Holy Protection the 2nd level. You also have Unholy Power at 3 levels. You get level 1, which is 1 square, 20 range. You get... you don't get it at a 2nd level, but you do get it at a 3rd level, which is an area of effect 5, which is not super big. But you get it again at level 4, which is the entire battlefield, and this is not MR negate, so you cast it once and it's on everybody. And then you have 2 spells which are, I think they're unique to Lemuria, maybe a couple other nations have them. I think Scelaria has it, but I'm not sure. You have Anathema, and this will curse a sacred unit. I don't know if this works on pretenders. I think it does, but I'm not sure. But if they have super elites, this is good on them. And it's really long range, so you can cast it from the back line. And then you have Apostasy, which also works only on sacreds, but it charms them. When you charm a unit, like if you get a commander, it doesn't actually revert them to a normal unit where you'd have to like Gift of Reason them or something if you do Enslave or something like that. So charm is different than enslave. So this is really good versus sacreds. Which is a lot of what people are probably going to be using to rush you. So anyway, that's pretty damn good skill. But it's Holy 3, so only your Centurions and your Grand Lemurs can do it. And these are basically your units. So let me think if I missed anything from this screen real quick. I'll talk about a couple more things. So, like I said, in a fort, you get better free spawn if you have a temple. If you have a laboratory in a fort, there is a small chance that you get one of these lemur acolytes to spawn. I've done some testing, and it seems to be about 1.5 a year. If you have a temple and a laboratory in a province, which, if you convert it to death gems, these guys are like 11 death gems. So it's like 16 death gems a year from a lab. So that's not a horrible investment of 500 gold. But it's a pretty slow payoff, right? Like, it takes a year to get that much. So while you may want to build labs, I think it's probably better to go ahead and get your free spawn chaff and spend your death gems on researchers, because you're going to be really gold constrained. And you're also going to get income from having forted temples, and forted temples aren't exactly cheap. So I think that's your first mission, get forted temples. And then maybe mid-game you could switch to getting labs up. I'm not sure if you would. We'll see. I think it's like a second priority. If you have a lot of money but not a lot of land, you could put temples up. Laboratories up. We'll talk about the units real quick. Let me go ahead and summon a bunch of them. So call spirits. We'll get some apparitions, some shade beasts, some shadows, some dispossessed spirits. And let's take a look at these. So these are your apparitions. They're 15 HP, kind of bad attack and defense. No armor or shields. But they're ethereal. They have fear, which is very good, and they have disease aura. And then their attack also inflicts disease. So they're very kind of weak, but they're very good behind your front line to dish out some fear aura. You have Shade Beasts. These guys have 12 HP. Attack and defense isn't great. They have a tiny bit of protection. They do have dark power. If you can get darkness up, they're quite strong. And importantly, they have reanimating bite. And this weapon is not MR negates, so yeah, they can get some nice non-MR negates damage into your lines, both through attacking themselves, and then as the things they kill rise as Solus, they will also add non-MR negates damage. These guys are pretty good against PD and kind of non-elite troops. And they are quite hard to hit. Next, we have our shadows. These are shadow soldiers, so they do paralyzed damage. They have better stats. They have 9 attack, 14 defense, 5 HP, not much, and no protection. But they do have better stats than like Dispossessed Spirit, which we'll talk about next, which is 1 HP and then 8 and 8, and then only an 8 attack paralyze. So versus super combatants and stuff, these guys have a much better chance of hitting, or a little better chance, and a much less chance of getting hit. With 14 defense and ethereal, they survive much longer than 8 defense and ethereal. So anyway, yeah, these are your free spawn units. You also get these guys, Spectral Standards, as free spawn, and they have a fear built in, and otherwise they're basically identical to your other troops. And I don't think I have any here. Let's see. Yeah, these come in a few varieties. This is the Velite, and it's 10-13 with 8 HP, and then these are the slightly better 10-13 with 10 HP. And I think otherwise they're basically the same. Do I see anything much different? No, they're pretty much the same. They're pretty similar. I don't have any here, but you also get some... Some of these will free spawn also without you using your priest turns to get more of them. You will also get free spawn ghosts, and there are also free spawn spectral lictors that you can get that are sacred. But you do not get those in any significant quantity, and certainly not enough quantity to count on. But they do add some kind of flavor to units, which, you know, you can possibly figure out a use for them. So I think that's it for the national overview, and it went a little longer than I thought, so I think we'll do the Pretender design on the next episode. So thanks everyone for watching, and looking forward to doing this Let's Play with you.